It was on the outskirts of small-town Port Hope, Ontario, that Calvin Hoover's troubled life ended 5 years ago. But so much about the life he led remains unknown. Neighbors can only wonder.
How can someone hold it in for 30 years? I mean, because we looked at the date when he died, 2015. I went, I did the math, said 30 years he held it in. So it just shocks me to hear that.
In 1996, Hoover was convicted of driving under the influence. He and his wife declared bankruptcy 3 times since the 90s. These images, again distributed by police as they named him, at last the only suspect in the sexual assault and murder of Christine Jessop. In 1984, when she was killed in Queensville, Ontario, where Hoover too had once lived, his home then was in Toronto. At some point, he moved a 1.5-hour drive away to Port Hope, where he took his own life in 2015. At the time of Christine's murder, her loved ones had no reason to suspect Hoover could be involved. A family friend, he even joined the teams of volunteers looking for a body, a memory now only adding to the family's shock.
He had gone out on searches for Christine in the initial disappearance. He was at the house, he was at the funeral, he was at the house for the wake that night.
The investigation gripped the country, many now wondering whether Hoover had an alibi or what it was that caused police to look past him all these years. The case was reopened in the 90s, but only now, with cutting-edge forensic genealogy, could Hoover finally be identified and more questions finally be answered.
Now they can go back and examine his background, specifically the timeline of Mr. Hoover's life surrounding the time of the crime.
Police are expected to talk to those who knew Hoover in Port Hope and along a road that stretches back 4 decades. Thomas Dagg, CBC News, Toronto.